bet you could if the screen was bigger. A little.
Very little.
But more than before.
Definitely.
And I'll see it when I look at the PowerPoint.
It's saving our I don't think they'll get like a good camera based on camera.
I think that's the best we can do.
Yeah, I think that's the best. Okay, is it struggling downstairs?
It's brighter.
Okay, I'm going downstairs because they are not allowing him to come up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's drastically more visible. That'll be pretty good.
and you can thank David because your background was not showing at all. He had to play with it to show your background.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I told him that you spent time actually creating this background and you needed that to show. So he played until he was figured out a way to get it to show.
What was wrong with it?
I changed the picture mode to dynamic, and then, like we did the other day, changed the brightness and contrast.
Did you have to bring it back up after we brought it down? The contrast?
It reset.
Oh.
So I don't know if it happens every night. Maybe we have something going on with the actual stream where it won't load to the background. And let's see. Yeah. It says suggestion up now. And it won't live. Yes. The stop. We're here to fix it.
Because it might just be here. It might be.
Same drill as usual.
It looks good.
Yeah, it's showing on here.
Alright, so it's just on the iPad that it's weird. Just make sure you lock it and talk to it.
Yeah. We have two viewers that we can.
Do I need to fill out another one of these forms?
No.
No, you're
You
good to go
done
on
that,
that
you're
part,
good.
yeah.
You only need to do one.
Monica,
Yes.
do you think when you're on the outside, you could have it open on the YouTube on the computer or something?
Yeah, I can try it now.
And let us know if there are any issues.
going?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. Everybody's good? Excited? So far.
Said yes, sir.
As soon as this is over, I think I can stop the stream. And we can, I guess that, yeah, okay. Well, this is also
Silence my own phone.
I got a 5.
Alright. Alright, so my name is Leo. I'm a software engineer. I've worked for companies you might know. I've done some work with Instagram, with Facebook. I've worked with Cigna Healthcare as well. I'm currently contracted for a company called Cognizant, and we do a variety of different technologies for a variety of Fortune 500 companies. Alright, and I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin, or how to become a millionaire with a time machine. Alright. Alright, so let's start. Alright, so this is kind of like the overall stuff that I'm going to go over. Kind of like what was before the Bitcoin, right? What was Bitcoin before Bitcoin was Bitcoin? And then how it kind of evolved over time. You know, the first concepts, where did it come from? The market, how did it grow? How did people become millionaires from Bitcoin? What does it really mean? What is it really? And how can you use it? Right? Alright, so start off with, what is virtual currency? Does anybody know? Anybody? Alright, so virtual currency is anything that's like online and digital. It's literally money that is just completely online and doesn't have anything physical like a dollar. Like if you guys ever played World of Warcraft, like, you know, just gold and silver, or Roblox when you were a kid, and also Bitcoin is one of the things that we consider to be digital currency. Something that you can't hold, but you know you can use it to like get other things out of. That's pretty much what it is. Alright, so before Bitcoin, there was BitGold. That is the precursor. So essentially, BitGold wasn't actually something that you could trade yet. It's just the theory behind Bitcoin. It was, is it possible to do this? How can we do it? So it actually came from a fear of the bank. So let's talk about the bank problem. So you give money to a bank, right? And the bank says, I will hold on to your money. But then what happens if a bank goes bankrupt? you lose all the money you put into that bank. There's no trust that that bank will hold on to the value that it's promising you. So that's kind of like the issue that banks have. And the big thing that we do to fix it is called decentralization. It's instead of having a bank, one general place, hold all the money inside of, you kind of have to find a way to expand it so it's not just in one place, but kind of like the idea of value and money that you have is in everybody's hands. And that's where it comes to the peer-to-peer network. So, how it essentially works is with cryptocurrency, or the original BitGold, is that it had different blocks with information that everybody's computer, if you own any Bitcoin, would store. And that would actually store every single transaction or every single thing that you use that money for inside those blocks. So every computer that kind of holds and stores Bitcoins for a long period of time is like a record-keeping transcript for every single thing that Bitcoin pretty much is and stands for, right? Everything that it's used for. All right. So once someone made that up, then it comes a question of how do you actually use it, right? That's where we actually start to beginning to open up and generating and creating our initial Bitcoin. So, really cool guy, Satoshi Nakamoto. That's not a real guy, by the way. That is actually a pseudonym for a really interesting programmer or a set of programmers. It was actually never really revealed who it was. People have like assumptions that they made, like, oh, it's this guy or it's that guy. People have definitely claimed to be him, but nothing fixed can claim who it is. But he was like, let me try to make the first Bitcoin. So what he essentially did is he took the idea and he actually created it, programmed it, and then pretty much generated everything and then started to publicize it. So this is what is called the Genesis block. So how it essentially works is that every Bitcoin or block is mined by something. So without getting into bigger details, it's like a Bitcoin has a bunch of information, and it's attached to another Bitcoin with the information that's attached to another one that everybody has, and it all stores all the transactions and some weird, complicated mess of data. This is what that mess of data looks like. And you can actually see here in the initial times, you can see like Chancellor on the brink of second ballot of banks. This is actually talking about the initial bank trust problem. So this even shows you how the original Genesis block, or the first Bitcoin that someone ever owned, was because of the idea of, lack of trust for banks. All right, so Bitcoin mining. This is kind of fun, kind of cool, kind of difficult. So how Bitcoins generally get created is through mining. So what does that mean is that each Bitcoin is actually a part of a solution to a math problem. You have this really complicated math problem that's called hashing, or it uses hashing, special encryption as well, and everybody tries to solve this math problem. And once you get a solution to this math problem, you get a number. And the number is kind of long. The numbers can vary, can be longer and longer and longer. And a certain set of that number is a Bitcoin. So if you go and you find a solution to the problem that's currently out there, like for the next set of Bitcoins, you yourself can get yourself a Bitcoin. So when it was first solved, the first person who actually solved it actually got 50 Bitcoins right from the start. It was like almost instant. He got it right away. Right from the beginning, just 50 Bitcoins, large. And the reason is because hashing is a problem that has, it's easier to find numbers and values that fit that solution to the problem from the beginning. So as you go on and you try to solve more and find more and more solutions, it's less obvious. And because it's less obvious, it's essentially harder to find and solve and actually use. And they actually get shorter as well. So it's actually more difficult to use the solutions, and the actual values come down to be shorter. All right. Cool. Okay. So in 2009, the Liberty Standard. So that was essentially the first time that cryptocurrency was exchanged publicly. So if you saw before, I did mention that it was public, but only available to programmer due to difficulty. That's because it wasn't yet properly traded, but people still went around and tried solving for it and had that information to have their own Bitcoin, right? So it was usually only available to programmers because they were the ones that knew, programmers and mathematicians knew how to solve this problem to continue on to have their own Bitcoin. And here we go. The Liberty Standard, right? So this is actually here from Liberty Standard. This is actually the first daily exchange rate. So this is the first day it came out, and this is the first set of Bitcoins to be traded for a specific price. So you can see initially it started at $1 for over 1,000 Bitcoin. So like, let me think. So if Bitcoin is now traded at like $50,000, that's like the high that it reached, right? That's like adding 3 zeros, that's 1 million, multiply that by like 5, right? So it's 4 zeros, right? 50,000. That's 13 million, and then multiply that by 5. You're looking at around $65 million for the first one. So you buy literally $1, you waited 10 years, and that would have turned into 65 million. And can you imagine the first guy who did it? Literally, the first person who got that first block got 50 of these. That's ridiculous. That's $300 million just for coming up with this. Yeah, no wonder he stayed anonymous, right? Imagine how many else he like got. He's probably a billion out there just living his little island. All right. So the first purchase. So of course people traded digital things for Bitcoin at first. That's kind of like the use of it. But eventually someone bought something physical. And of course, it was a guy from Florida, right? You know how Florida people
He must hate himself now.
Oh, right? He was thinking, you should have saved the 10,000 Bitcoin that he used to buy 2 pizzas from Papa John's. That was the first purchase.
And actually, the all-time high, I think, was like 65 or 70.
65?
Maybe
Oh
it was
my
70,000.
70,000?
Like last year.
That was ridiculous. This skyrocketed so much. My God. I wish I had some Bitcoin right now, right? Alright. So in 2012 we have something that happened that's called the halvening. So I mentioned before that the first block that you solved, the first math problem that you went through, got you 50 Bitcoins, correct? Well, the halving is what I mentioned before, how it increases in difficulty and gives you less and less solutions per mine blocked. So in 2012 we hit a point that we only were able to mine 25 Bitcoins from that block. So that means the more we continue to get Bitcoins and mine them, the harder it gets and the less money and profit we actually make out of it. So that's an issue that we call the halvening, and that's kind of like why over time, there's a huge trend in actually mining and solving for this math problem. But over time it started to decrease and decrease and decrease. Actually right now it's actually coming back up. I don't know why. Spending a lot of electricity, a lot of money just to get those computers running, and that's just gonna kind of happen. So people started thinking, now I have Bitcoin, I know it's making me money, I don't want to really like spend it yet because I feel like it's gonna go up. Is there anything I can do to earn more money with Bitcoin, right, or with cryptocurrency? And then people started doing something that's called staking. So if you guys remember, I said before that everybody who uses Bitcoin and wallets and cryptocurrencies has all the transactions and stuff saved. So it's like a connection between all the computers. It's a peer-to-peer network. So everybody who has one or a wallet or owns a Bitcoin and just holds onto it is contributing to keeping the information about the trading of Bitcoin, to holding on all of those transactions. Well, people actually started making money from that because they needed to encourage, right? People who run cryptocurrencies and these finance things, they needed to encourage people to continue to promote being a peer-to-peer network. So they offered incentives, including Bitcoin itself. So it's kind of almost like investing, right? How you have a bunch of money, you put it in a savings account, put it in a bank, and you pray the bank doesn't go bankrupt. But then the interest continues to grow and grow and grow on that Bitcoin, right? The same idea, right? It's literally that thing. The Bitcoin will add onto itself because the incentive is to keep holding onto it to grow the value. It's an investment. That's what staking is. You hold onto a Bitcoin, you lock it in, and then institutions will give you little bits and bits of Bitcoin to increase the value that you have in that Bitcoin, right? So people started doing that a little more. It's not as popular as I wish it was, so if you want to get into that, literally Google it, and you can make some little money off of that, yeah? Right? All right. So, holding onto crypto instead of selling. So, this is where I personally believe that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency really gained its popularity by this one guy, right? His online name was, that's what it was right there, Game Kayubi. And what kind of happened is he was super drunk, absolutely wasted, and he went on this forum, I think it's called Bitcoin Talks. And what he did is he just made this super ridiculous post about him like being drunk. You see literally that I've had some whiskey, and he literally posted, "I am holding," telling everybody, don't spend your Bitcoin, don't trade it out, hold on to it because it will make you millions. Super drunk, hilarious, and that's what he said. So why is this important? Well, it spiraled. People thought this was hilarious, and they turned into memes. So you can actually see, you know, people were saying, oh, you hold it, you'll get rich, just hold it. Bitcoin I trust, hold I must. This is where we hold, stay calm and hold. Literally, it went viral, and this actually helped Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to gain its popularity and actually branched out to practically like the whole world and encourage more people to buy. And then once that happens, right, everything started getting way more popular, things started coming up, people were learning more about cryptocurrency, and then came other cryptocurrencies, right? People were like, oh, Bitcoin is kind of expensive now, it's rising in price, there's something else we can do, can I learn from this and develop something else, can I grow off of this? And thus, Ethereum came along. So, the original idea for Bitcoin is that you can store the transactions, but a guy even took it a step further. He's like, we have these Bitcoins that can remember all this information, and everybody knows when it happened, where it was, like IP location, and all these different situations. So they thought, why not add stuff, more information to the cryptocurrency? Because it's online and stored, why not make it permanent? And that's where Ethereum came from. They started adding data, knowledge, information, even other computer programs to cryptocurrency. Have you guys heard of NFTs? It's kind of like that idea. NFTs is like an image that people have that they actually digitize and attach to a cryptocurrency to be stored forever. You see the transaction that says this person owns this image. Every single person attached to that peer-to-peer network I mentioned before will know that that person owns that image. It's impossible, super difficult. I personally think impossible to take that and like fake it, say, oh no, I actually own this photo, right? So that's kind of like how Ethereum came from. You can actually see people were like, oh, you know, I like Bitcoin. It's like, oh, well, Ethereum comes along, let me try that. Be loyal, guys, be loyal. All right, and then as soon as these things rise, becomes more popular, the meme explosion, Bitcoin went kaboom, right? In 2017, they had a huge rise. This is where the first millionaires came out, right? To that $20,000 mark. And also was the start of bigger companies, huge financial institutions picking it up, starting and helping with public trade for Bitcoin. My personal favorite is Binance.us. If you guys want to start publicly trading, I recommend 100% you go to Binance.us, put your information in there, and you can trade almost immediately. So Bitcoin right now is in the thousands of dollars. You do not need that much money to trade Bitcoin. You can trade in parts. You can buy $100 of Bitcoin and just hold on to it. All right. And maybe, you know, maybe it'll go further. Who knows? I don't know where it's gonna go. All right. Awesome. So now we're at central bank digital currency. So what that essentially is ironically centralizing a decentralized currency. So what does that mean? It means, kind of ironically, to grab your money from your country, my dollar bill, and make a cryptocurrency that is equal to that value. So what that means is the country will literally give you a cryptocurrency made by itself and say it is backed by the dollar. And each one that I give you will always be backed by the dollar. So essentially we'll have another way of like converting or using digital money, like if you're using your debit cards or credit cards or Visa, without actually having to transfer money between, you know, banks using like the Federal Reserve and stuff like that. This is like a way of saying us as a country can prove to you that this is the dollar that we have and we are going to back the digital currency. Now, Joe Biden, interesting guy. He is he is nice enough to actually give lots and lots of money. He made an executive order in actually March of 2022 saying that we will now work, right? We will now work heavily to create our central bank digital currencies. Other countries already started doing this. Some countries already have it, especially countries in Africa, those countries that are trying to stabilize their currency, they are using this right now. If you want to know which direction the future is going to go for cryptocurrency, this is it right here. This is what you need to research. Get into this, and as soon as it starts opening up, see what you can do, and that's how you're going to be making a lot of your money. All right. Now here's the fun part. Now you know all of this. Now I'm curious what you guys would say. Going way back to the beginning. Knowing this, and only this, with a time machine, let's say you had to go back to 1997. What do you guys think at that point? How could you use this information to make money? Yeah, hit me with it.
I'm thinking about like during the Depression period.
Ooh, yeah, tell me more.
I guess digital currency would have been a lot better because of the bank. And the
That's a
bank
great one,
situation.
right? Yeah. During a Great Recession, we had that issue, that huge investment you're like a psychic, right? That huge investment companies literally crashed, right? Financial banks were literally declaring out bankruptcy. If we had this beforehand, it would not have been a problem for banks to declare bankruptcies. Our money would have been stored in a way that everybody sees it, and supply and demand will say that these banks will have to, like, there's no way that they can't give some money because it doesn't belong to them, right? Yeah, 100%. All right, here's another good one. All right, the Liberty Standard. If this was like around that time period there, this was like 2008, 2009-ish, this is just starting up, what would you guys have done? Give me the obvious and give me something that's not obvious, you know? How would you make your million off of this?
I mean, I probably would have invested like $10 in it. I mean, being honest, just because I'm that type of person where I see something like that, I'm like, this might have a chance. I probably would have invested $10 and forgot about it for 10 years.
Yeah, that's all you had to do. Can you imagine? All you have to do at this point, seeing something new, thinking it's so small, why don't I try it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just put $1 into this, make yourself $10. How much is, that would have been so much money, dude. Oof, that would have been 13,000 Bitcoin. You would have been, buy me an island, please.
There's some cryptocurrencies right now that are like at $1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are.
Like
yeah.
Cardano,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot.
There's so many cryptos. You gotta be careful though, because you have to watch the trends. So one of the things that was really good about Bitcoin is that the supply and demand kept making it so the value would increase. the idea of this new concept of cryptocurrency had a lot of programmers and people that are new wanting to buy it, wanting to invest into it. And thus the demand was high and always increasing. And because the demand was increasing, you know, the more someone wants something,
The value goes up.
the value goes up. So that's one of the difficulties with actually kind of like the newer cryptocurrencies. There's so many coming out.
Mhm.
You have to be careful, be picky and choosy. Read about what does this cryptocurrency really mean? Is there something behind it? Is there a backing behind this currency? Is there a reason that people are gonna want to buy this? And if you can find that reason, and you can find that good reason, then you should definitely invest into it. Put $10 into something that you feel like will blow up and make you millions. And then call me later and give me my donation. I will gratefully accept. Alright.
I have a question.
Go ahead, miss.
I have seen a lot going on online where people randomly reach out saying, I'm gonna help you buy Bitcoins. And you can invest, I'm gonna help you. So what would you say about that? And I have had people offer me that a few times. Oh, I'm gonna help you invest in Bitcoins. I'm like, no, thank you. Right? But, so can you say something about that?
Yes. Independent research. There are a lot of people out there who are scammers. They're gonna say, give me $500 and then next month I will give you $1 million because I will be investing in Bitcoin. Now you know that's not really possible. Even if you look at the trend, it took years for it to grow, right? Understand, do your own research. And plus, what is the benefit of giving that money to somebody else in the first place, right? Be aware of what's actually happening. Be afraid of people taking that from you and abusing the lack of knowledge. Study it, learn it. Literally go through and identify, is Bitcoin growing to that extent? And if so, do I even need this person? Because now you have references like Binance.us, Kraken.com. You can use those to actually also buy Bitcoin yourself, right? Look at the data. Identify, is what this person's saying true? And then think to yourself, if it's not, do I know this person? Can I trust them? Why are they messaging me like this? There was a big point during COVID that cryptocurrency also had a huge rise and also increased popularity. And because of that, cryptocurrency scams, ironically, I actually got a text message this morning from a cryptocurrency scammer, that people literally saying, invest in this, give me your money, do this, and it will make you money. Figure it out yourself. You'll make more money that way. Alright. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Alright, cool. Alright. So knowing this information, how could you be a millionaire?
Allowing your money to just stack up and hold it in there and do nothing with it. So just a waiting game so it incurs some sort of interest over time.
Yeah. Staking. Staking is a money-making process. Staking will make you bucks too. You don't need to constantly like, oh, it's rising, you know, let me buy some. Oh no, it's falling, let me sell some. Oh, it's rising, let me buy some. You can just buy some, figure it out, search, research, independent research. How can I stake this currency that I have for money? And then do it. And just hold on to it, let it grow. And eventually, as it continues growing, once you're at a point that you're like, I might need this money now, you know, is that a good amount at this moment? Is how much I need for whatever I need it for? Pull it out and use it. Right? Good stuff. Yeah. Any other ideas for this one? All right.
I'd get better at math.
Alright, so something that's interesting is that when the financial boom happened, right, people were already owning cryptocurrency, right? People already had it. And after a rise happens, there's usually a crash, right? So one concept that kind of came up that people started doing, really interesting, is called Bitcoin and cryptocurrency lending. And what happens here is like, I know this rich guy who is, you know, somewhat nice, and he had invested in Bitcoin, and he owns like 100 Bitcoin, but he's not willing to sell it yet. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'll make you a deal. I'll hold on to your Bitcoin for you. And just don't worry about it. You just give me your 100 Bitcoin. And he's like, why would I do that? I'm like, just don't worry about it. I'll give you a little money. Just let me hold on to it. I grab his Bitcoin for $100. He doesn't know I'm going to do this. I sell it all. I know it's going to drop, so I sell it all. So let's say Bitcoin, for example, at that time was worth $1,000, right? And I sell 100 of it. That means I have $100,000 now. It crashes, it drops, you know, 2 months later, now it's worth $500. All right, now I buy it. I buy the $100 back. I owe the guy, right? So now that means I only had to buy it for half that amount, for half the 100,000, only for $50,000. So I'm like, dude, you know, here, have your cryptocurrency back. I'm done borrowing it from you. Here, just take it back. But I made $50,000 on this guy just holding, you know, me borrowing it from him. Taking advantage of him a little bit, you know, it's a little bit. From him just wanting to hold on to it. I made $50,000 from lending him that Bitcoin. Yeah, hit me with it.
So is this a real life scenario that you've done, or just like an example?
That's a secret. No, it's 100% possible to do that. Nowadays, if you go to companies and places online, financial institutions like Binance.us, Coinbase, and Kraken, they let you do that. It's a little more complicated, and the official name you might find is either lending, like I said, or shorting. If any of you guys are familiar with some finance, you'll know a little bit about like shorting stocks. Do research on shorting. How can you short Bitcoin? How can you short cryptocurrency? And then when you can identify trends or decreasing value, see that it's gonna fall, you know, it hit the top, now it's going down, you can definitely do the lending option to make money from that. Alright. Usually you have to prove to them that if it goes wrong, you can pay the back. You know, they're not gonna trust you 100%, right? But overall, it's pretty good. Alright. Now here. Does anybody know a good concept of how would you make money here? See, this one's a little tricky. It's centralized money, right? What's going on here? You know, how could you profit from this? This hasn't even happened yet, and I'm asking you guys. See, think ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Would that be like, so they'd make it equal to the US dollar, so they'd make it equal to $1,
Yes.
a certain cryptocurrency? So
Yeah,
let's say,
that'd be they would have a personal cryptocurrency that would be equal to that $1 value. Yeah.
so you'd have to invest in it before it hit that $1 mark.
It would.
Before they made it a dollar.
See, that's the tricky thing, is that they would have it backed by the dollar,
Mhm.
which means as soon as from the beginning, the change, the value itself of the coins or the currency that they will create under this will never change. It will always be equal to $1 US.
So you'd have to stake it then, right?
That is definitely one way, yeah. I think you could actually stake it. That'd be interesting. Here's an idea I had. If you guys use this and become rich in the future, send me a text. If you need my Venmo or Cash App, PayPal, whatever you need, just let me know. But anyway, trading money, trading real money, foreign exchange, you have to pay for that, right? And it's not relatively cheap. They kind of rip you off a little bit when you have to, you know, grab like dollars and trade them for like euros or something else. Well, this is digital, and it's virtual currency. Nobody can really control how you trade it with people, right? And having an online situation like this can mean that you can easily trade currency with other people from anywhere around the world without having to give them a physical object, right? This is going to completely destroy, oh my God, please never repeat this. This is going to destroy, once countries adapt this idea, it's going to destroy the foreign exchange market. People who are making money regularly using the foreign exchange market, it's not going to look pretty for them. Yeah, go ahead.
What's the foreign exchange market?
Yeah, so foreign exchange is essentially trading like money from different countries for those, like, from their different money. So for example, I have the US dollar, I wanna go to Europe, right? Europe uses euros, so I have to, you know, if I wanna use and buy things in Europe, I have to exchange my American dollar, like maybe I'll get like $200 and change it for like that 250 euros. Right, so I can go and buy my tea and crackers and biscuits and all the fun
All
things
that
that you buy in
European
Europe. Yeah. But the thing is, like, we have the foreign exchange market. What they do is they're like, oh, you know, we're a group of people that manage it and we do it for you while you're at the airport, or you go to different like locations, they have like places for it. And they'll be like, yeah, we can do that, but we're gonna charge you a 20% fee. Oh, you wanna trade, you know, you wanna trade 200, but we're gonna take away like, you know, $40 from you because you wanna trade that much money. It's not usually that high, usually, but if they went ahead and did this, then you could just find some way online, contact some people, maybe even have like, maybe someone will build an exchange forum online. That's a really good money idea. Have an online forum that people that uses digital currency can communicate with one another to exchange it directly. It's kind of like when eBay came out, but instead of trading things, it's trading currency. It's a peer-to-peer trading. That's why it's, you know, based off of the peer-to-peer network.
How about sending money to another country? Like, for example, people who live in another country and have family, for example, in my case, right? I'm here, I'm from Brazil, and I have family in Brazil, and sometimes I send money to Brazil.
Yeah. All
And
you
like,
need,
they have to transfer. So how does that work in that situation?
easy. All you would need is something that's called the wallet that we mentioned before. A wallet is kind of like where you hold your Bitcoins or the information about Bitcoins, and you just add a transaction to the Bitcoin that you own or the currency that you own, or if you want to use a foreign currency, add that transaction in there and say, I'm giving it to somebody. And you can do that yourself. Just ask them what their wallet is. They'll give you like an identification number for where you hold and contain that digital money, that digital currency. Just go ahead and add that transaction in there, and then you're done. Doesn't cost anything. It's pretty simple.
So how am I gonna make money with this new money, new currency?
Yeah. So there's a different ways to do it. If you look at the foreign exchange market crashing, that means there's a lot of money to be lost, and different financial institutions that trade that money for you. Like if there's a bank that, do you have a question?
Yeah, have you ever heard of Cash App and like Bitcoin on it?
Does Cash App have Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't use Cash App, but
Uh,
yeah. If it has Bitcoin, yeah. The Bitcoin trading that I usually do is on Binance.us, and I have my personal wallet on there that lets me do connections. But holding onto Bitcoin and buying that and trading and selling it, I think if it has Bitcoin, it has a wallet that will have your information on there, and that will probably most likely let you be able to transfer that money around as well. That's a good example of like an actual Bitcoin wallet. Thank you for that. Yeah. But ways of making money. So if the financial market in terms of, you know, foreign currencies crashes, banks will lose money, right? Those institutions will lose money, which means you can take advantage. I know it sounds bad, right? Taking advantage. You can take advantage of banks losing money by actually doing what I said before, lending, right? Use the idea of lending part of those banks, the money that goes into those banks, you know, investments, crypto investments, anything into those banks, lend from other people to sell and then buy again. If you're a programmer and or just, you know, interested in different kinds of exchange, as soon as you see someone starting to build a market for different monies from central bank digital currencies from around the world, if you see that happening, you should jump on that. It's not happening yet. Maybe I should do it, right? Maybe I should make that. I would be like super rich if I did that. But that is definitely right there. That is going to be the fact that he signed an executive order for research and development to rush the production of a central bank digital currency just shows how much value is going to be going into institutions that will be working on exchanges for this currency.
skip that real quick.
Skip it?
Oh, so this is
I wanna get a
all
picture of it.
available, so all 3 students will have that, all the PowerPoints during this week, everybody will have access to it.
Okay.
So you're gonna have the whole PowerPoint. Actually, there is a link that we share already that you can go and get it. If you don't have, you can message me later. And also by the end of the week, we will send out the link to everybody of all PowerPoints. So you'll have the whole thing.
Are there any other questions? So go ahead.
How is it bad for the environment? Like I was told it's like bad for the environment.
Okay, so right now there's a huge trend for Bitcoin mining. And what that is like grabbing your computer, your processor, your graphics card, and they try to solve that math problem over and over again. People have literally rooms with, tiny computers just stacked, constantly running and running to try to solve this math problem. And it takes up, lots of energy, takes up room, takes up space, right? And that is actually taking away, from the original intentions of cryptocurrency. These people that are constantly trying to continuously hash it at this point, it makes sense having something small going, but people that are kind of forcing it out to make money, they're having a negative impact with how much energy they're taking up, and even processing power, they're wasting it on that. Can you imagine if we're using that much processing power to run AI's computers to try to solve cancer? It's but there's no money in that apparently.
Or not as much as Bitcoin.
Yeah, not as much as Bitcoin. Yeah, that's good. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I have a few. So, is it too late now to say I have a computer at home that I'm not using to try to mine out a block?
No. So there are different companies now that are running Bitcoin mining all over the world, and what they do is they're like, let me borrow your computer, and we're going to mine. There's programs that we're going to mine a little bit off your computer. Use your computer and combine it with hundreds of other people's computers around the world to try to mine a Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency. And when they actually mine it and they make money off of it, they'll grab that money and they'll split it with everybody who was using part of the computer and power to give back to you. So you might be able to earn, if you mine a block, maybe 1% of a Bitcoin or maybe even less, right? But it's definitely possible.
And then, someone else had a question?
Good question. Just keep going.
Okay, so, one of the questions was, and I think it might not be as important, but do crypto miners have to fight over blocks to solve? Or is it just an infinite stream for this problem that they're trying to figure out?
Okay, so to get, this is a little more technical, but essentially, this problem is actually kind of like an encryption. So what happens is, you have the block, like the first Genesis block that we talked about, that was the first solution. That was kind of like all the information about, the Bitcoin and stuff that we have there, and the first solution to that problem. All the solutions that come after that are attached to that original block. That block has a set of data that goes into the next block. And then what that does is, okay, here's the next block. This is information with this second block that has the Bitcoins that I want to mine, but it also includes part of the solution from the last block. And now we have to add numerical values. We have to figure out what is the next set of numerical value that we can add to the data from the last block to generate the solution that we're looking for. Does that partially answer your question?
So then each individual mining company just solving one aspect of this block, or are they all working to solve their own block individually?
They're essentially all working to find the first ones to find a solution to have it updated to the peer network. Because like I said, everybody has all the information on all the blocks when you have a wallet information. So they're trying to be like, am I the first one to find the solution so I can add the next block? Because the next block kind of only gets unlocked, I'll call it unlocked for now, when you find the solution to unlock it. It's like a key. And the first person who gets that key, it automatically goes to all the networks and everything that's attached to it because it's part of the transactions, right? It gets added to the series of blocks.
Can I answer that?
other questions? No? Alright, well, thank you guys.
Awesome. If everybody could do an evaluation, and a reminder for the people watching online to go into your email to find the evaluation links. Thank you very much.
Awesome, you.
Wait, I do have a question, I think.
Yeah, here we go.
So, for trends, or to learn how to start studying trends, all of that is on YouTube? Or do I have to actually go to a class in order to study trends so that I can know which one to invest in?
In terms of, sorry, can you specify your question a little more?
Like Bitcoins, because you said we have to pay attention to like the trends.
The trends, yes.
Yeah, so.
So, are you talking about like learning when to actually put your money
Yeah.
into Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely mostly about trends. There's, I don't know if you could necessarily need a class, but you definitely need some skill sets in terms of like identifying outside trends, as in like, are other countries buying more Bitcoin because they're going through an economic recession? For example, I believe in mid to late 20-teens, Greece actually went through an economic depression, and they went through a process that they said, we're going to put all of our money, the government said, we're going to put all of our money into Bitcoin because our actual currency is falling. And as soon as people heard Greece is going to do that, they bought Bitcoin before Greece did it. And what happened when Greece did it? They put millions of dollars into Bitcoin, supply and demand, the price rises. Listen to what you hear. Listen to the news in terms of Bitcoin and stuff like that. Figure out, is there any scenarios that countries or large organizations are suddenly going to put a lot of money into this and buy it? Because that's how it's going to go up, right? If you want to get into more nitty-gritty stuff, you can also look for trends in terms of any actual code or any actual like numerical values. So there are some techniques that require like studying up. You can Google Bitcoin indicators, technical indicators. That is like a good keyword to Google for identifying numerical trends. Also, if you've heard of Google Trends, it's also a really good tell if you've heard of that. What Google Trends does is it allows you to put in something that will tell you like what are people searching up nowadays, and it'll tell you what millions of people are actually searching this information up. If for some reason everybody, in November starts suddenly Googling buy Bitcoin, that means people are looking to buy it, and it's a good indicator that the price is going to rise. And if you're shorting or lending, then if everybody's Googling sell Bitcoin, then you can borrow from somebody else and make something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys. I don't think I can talk any longer.
Oh.
There's